Let's have a conversation, Rock. Dwayne Johnson, Mr. Johnson, or The Rock, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Whatever you choose to call yourself or how you identify yourself in the third person when you look in the mirror every day, prophetically so. I got to thinking, because I's a thinking nigga. And I had to sit back and process what you have been doing over the past week. And I'm not going to beat this like a dead horse. We're already past the point that you didn't show up to WrestleMania. We're already past the point that you said the Rock's final boss character is over and done with. He's no longer needed. We're already past the point that you showed up on Pat McAfee's show and gave him 45 minutes but couldn't give WWE a minimum of 6 to 10 minutes at WrestleMania. We're past all of that. We even hoped that we would see you on Monday Night Raw or maybe even a SmackDown. All right, we're past that. But then the internet got to talking. The IWC, which I am clearly the World Heavyweight Champion of from this moment on. The voices of the voiceless that you do not hear or do not care about in the WWE started to get to speaking. And even though you were deaf to all of their voices, you did not care. We did not worry. Because we are the consumers of the product that you so-called say you love. And then Dave Lagreca, one of those guys who is very passionate over at Busted Open Radio, is very passionate about professional wrestling. He loves it. And the words of the fat kid sitting in the audience with the microphone in his hand, it's real to me, damn it. And sometimes we like and appreciate, as fans and as supporters of professional wrestling, the suspension of disbelief. This is what allows people to enjoy a Superman movie or a Batman movie or a Shazam movie or even a Black Adam movie. We're going to put that aside for a second. But you are suffering from the largest case of plausible deniability I have ever seen. I have only seen this in women who have Instagram followings that are so huge that they forgot that they might be a basic bitch that takes a good picture. And that's what you are, Mr. Johnson. You're a basic bitch that takes a good picture. And as Dave Lagreca was being a fan who has surrounded himself around ex-professional wrestling greats, who is enjoying his time talking about wrestling, found a way to make money to talk about wrestling, and is enjoying all things talk about wrestling and the experience of wrestling, shared his emotions after you had the nerve to show up on Pat McAfee's show. And you responded with a slick and sly and disrespectful tweet that you should have kept to your fucking self or made it a private phone call to that man. Because obviously you know Mark Henry and Bully Ray, who sits on that show. You know Tommy Dreamer, who sits on that show every so often. You could have sent private messages to all those guys that say, hey, let me talk to fucking good old Dave over there. And The Rock writes this, people. He writes, and I quote, "Hi, Dave. The business is a complete work. Always been, always will. Motherfucker, we knew that. Every aspect of it, every match, every interview. So now you're downplaying the interview you had on Pat McAfee's show. Because now you want to think that you want to try to play the work shoot game after you realize your damage control wasn't worth piss." He follows up and says, "Please join me, Cody, Cena, and Bryan, and the rest of us for our creative, no Triple H mention, shots fired, to discuss creative discussions so that you can expand your perspective. Until then, stop ranting. It's not healthy, my friend. Enjoy the show. Please tell Bubba I have grand mania and hush puppies for all of us. Glass smiley face." Hey, fuck nigga. I got some Grand Marnier too. I don't eat hush puppies. I'm a grown-ass fucking man. But since we're gonna pop open a bottle of Grand Marnier with my little cigar over here and talk some shit, pardon me as I take a disrespectful nigga shot. The Rock got some fucking explaining to do. Now, you might be in your ego in that message. And somehow, out of all of the wrestling voices that you do not listen, you happen to hear one particular voice because his voice represented everyone's voice in that moment. And Dave from Busted Open Radio triggered a fucking nerve. It was like a shockwave. It was as if someone had clapped and the universe was born, and the universe was reality for you. And then you began to go on Twitter, which is the most dangerous place, X, which is the most dangerous place for anyone with an ego like yours to go. And you started seeing the universe of reality that you cannot live in. You started to identify that you fucked up. See, your damage control game on Pat McAfee was one move, but you began to understand that you fucked up. You had the nerve to say, the business is a complete work. It always has. It always will be. Motherfucker, we all know this. We're not asking for the business not to be a work. We're not asking for every match not to be a work. We're not asking for every interview not to be a work. We are asking for the intellectual integrity of the product, which you've been lucky enough to be a part of and become a superstar in, to be respected at the highest of all capabilities. The Rock has completely forgotten what a wrestling fan is. But I'll explain this a little bit more better. The Rock never knew what a wrestling fan is. See, The Rock has had the luxury or the happenstance of Andre the Giant and all these guys being in his household. The Rock never wanted to be a wrestler. He wanted to be a big old football star. And then when he blew his knee out, the most traditional story of most wrestlers, and his skill level wasn't met to the match to make it to the NFL, he went to his daddy and said, "Pappy, I'd love to be a wrestler." And your daddy got you into the business. You are wrestling's greatest Nepo baby. Oh, we complain about Bronny James, and we complain about the third generation superstars and Charlotte Flair, but The Rock is generational nepotism. His father, a failed professional wrestler, mediocre at best, couldn't even keep the WWE Tag Team Championships together because two niggas just couldn't get along. Labeled as the first black tag team wrestlers. Who gives a fuck about being first? I want to know who's doing best as it keeps going on. But your daddy, due to nepotism, got you in the WWE because you failed at your original dream. And you came into the WWE and you did what a lot of people can't do. After following in their father's footsteps, you became a star. And you were celebrated for it. But we must remember, people, as we listen to The Rock talk, as we see his malarkey and his bullshit written on Twitter and on his interviews, and how he's completely fake on how he talks about professional wrestling with his bullshit clapping in his arm, talking about, look at the goosebumps. Who gives a fuck about your goosebumps? Who gives a fuck about your adrenaline shot in the arm about professional wrestling? You run all of that bullshit, and then you forget the greatest element of professional wrestling. And I'll get to that in a second. The issue is, you have always had the luxury of having this universe that a lot of people dream of and speculate about and talk about, put right in your presence your whole fucking life. You can never understand the disappointment of a fan or supporter or investor into professional wrestling because you've never been a fan, investor, and supporter into professional wrestling. You have always been a tool of professional wrestling. You have always been a stone of professional wrestling that people had to look to get to the next match, to get to the main event. You always had to be utilized in it. You've never experienced fandom of professional wrestling, because it wasn't your original dream, but you excelled and superseded excelling in this professional wrestling industry. I think what you don't understand, Rock, and I know that you don't understand it, that for the average wrestling fan, it is a lifetime investment. The average wrestling fan, it is a minimum of a 10-year investment. I said this in my last video. But Mr. Johnson, Dwayne, The Rock, you forget that some of these people have committed to a product before you entered, they were invested in at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old or more. They swallowed not the red pill to bring them into reality, but they swallowed the blue pill and accepted it. It's like the great line in The Matrix when Cypher says, "I know that this steak is not real, but it tastes so damn good." Let me explain it to you, Mr. Johnson, or anybody who's listening. Fuck that piece right there, or anybody that's listening. It's simple. It's a simple element that it comes down to. We know that wrestling is not real, Rock, as you said. It's always been fake, always will be. Every aspect of it, every match, every interview. We know that. We have swallowed the blue pill. We know that the steak is not real, as he said, as Cypher said in The Matrix. We all know that that steak isn't really meat. It is a subliminal image, a magnetic image put into our skull, and we choose how it tastes and how good it feels and how bad it feels. Wrestling is a complete psychological aspect. Therefore, you never will truly understand and experience the fandom of it. You won't experience the suspension of disbelief that we are being asked to swallow in that pill when it comes to the business of professional wrestling. Because for us, it's not business. I'm a supporter of professional wrestling. I'm a lover of professional wrestling. I think my fandom has left me a long time ago, but I can't stop watching it. You want to know why? Because I'm asking to be entertained. The investment that you don't also realize is that they run out and they buy your toys and they buy your t-shirts with your logo and your eyebrow raised and your Brahma bull, and we subject ourselves to everything you guys design and put out. This is what you're not understanding, Rock. That's a lifetime investment. There's someone who listens to the show or another show or has gone to WWE and gone to a show and they experienced their first ticket and they saved up their now $500 to $600 to sit mid-tier to enjoy themselves at Backlash maybe. And this is their first wrestling experience, but you don't realize that they've probably been watching this since 5 years old. And that person is now 45 years of age. They've given wrestling 40 years of an emotional investment. That's what Dave Lagreca is explaining as his emotions come out. And yes, he is working himself up. But imagine him being 50 and watching wrestling since he was 5 with his kid. He's given wrestling a minimum of 45 fucking years of his life. Buying the t-shirts, buying the toys, buying the video games, buying the posters, autograph signings, anything to get a piece of what they asked for or what was promised to them when they swallowed the blue pill as a fan. Some people would say boycott The Rock. There's no reason to boycott The Rock. The Rock has boycotted himself the moment he left in 2004. Even better, the moment he signed that WWE contract, The Rock never existed. We got introduced to The Rock 2.5 years later, but in reality, by the time the WWE met The Rock, in the summer of 97, when he deemed himself that, he had already left the building. And that's something we got to understand as human beings and fans and people of this industry. Which leads me to believe that The Rock sold his soul the moment when he did not accomplish his dream of becoming a football player and went into the WWE. And when people sell their soul, when they start to speak, they sound like they're full of shit. They sound soulless. They sound pathetic, and they sound like they're trying to find anything perfect to say to make you so that they can make you believe that what they're saying is genuine and real. And that's the problem when fake motherfuckers begin to speak. So when The Rock speaks and he does and he shows the goosebumps into the fucking camera, we're watching every piece of his ego show up on those goosebumps. Every time he hits his arm, it's to remind him that the blood gotta flow because he has to stand in front of people he might not want to stand in front of. See, The Rock is a shareholder in this great company called the WWE. A minute one, but he's a shareholder. And for some reason, he's been thinking this gives him a reason to big dick around. And you're probably average at best. But you know, the ego can make you believe anything you want to, even if the truth is writing you in the face. And what Dave Lagreca was just asking to you of is less, please, you made us subscribe to what you believed and what you put on the screen, and then you took away what we subscribed to. The Rock sold his soul, ladies and gentlemen, for $7. He said once, I looked in my pocket and I had $7 after the failed football career, after getting with a woman that he probably really didn't feel attractive to, that ended up giving him a child. And he digs in his pocket and he's got $7 fucking dollars. And at that moment, he said, well, let me go into this wrestling shit because $7 ain't enough. And that $7 inspired him to go into this company and make $700,000, and then $7 million, and then $70 million, and then possibly 100. Let's say maybe he'll end up making up to $700 million someday with the way he's holding shares in the WWE. He magnified and flipped his $7 just by simply being irritated of what he had in his pocket. But instead of working smart and working hard, he worked to the permanent sell of who he truly was. I don't ever believed. I hear people like Jim Cornette and them saying, I know The Rock loves wrestling. I don't think The Rock loves wrestling. Because if you love wrestling, you would know how other people love wrestling. A lot of people would say I'm ranting right now, that I'm running a hate train. Shut the fuck up. See, the problem is, I'm talking logically at this moment, and I'm talking extremely clairvoyant. I will say in every episode I have worked in media and entertainment at an elite level my whole fucking adult life. And the one thing I do, the one thing I know is that I see motherfuckers just like you every day, Dwayne. I don't think he loves wrestling. I think he loves the money that wrestling has brought him. I think he loves the attention that wrestling has brought him. And most ego-driven people, and yes, if you want to be in entertainment, you are now entering a vanity-driven business, which means you need to be fueled by someone enjoying your reflection and what your reflection represents and gives to them. It's an exchange of adrenaline. The problem is, after a while, you forget to give the adrenaline back to us. That adrenaline that you're supposed to give back to us, Mr. Rock, Mr. Dwayne, Mr. Johnson, is for us to boo or cheer when you work through that building. If your smell comes on, we get our adrenaline shot back. When we see you in the ring, we get an exchange. The relationship between entertainer and wrestler is a power exchange. Look it up if you need to learn about it. We give you power to be the one you say that you are, the final boss, and you give us the power to be fans and feel great. And we do that for an exchange of currency. You know, Rock, everybody has a price. In the name of the great Ted DiBiase, everybody has a price. And I learned when you had said that Ariel Helwani went, oh, you got all the shares. You're the owner of the company now, and this, that, and the other. You know what I learned? And now I'm going to get a little bit prejudiced in this motherfucker. Now I'm going to get a little bit racist in this motherfucker. You know what I learned from dealing with corporate America? That white people know how to go to people of other cultures and play around with them in their face. You got all the shares, Rock. You're the boss. And the Rock, who ego is now floated because he is vanity driven. He is pumped up and the goosebumps running up his arm. Now that happens on a regular basis from any bit of ego floating. And you go to Ariel Helwani, oh, nah, you're the boss. Ariel Helwani owns the whole thing. But you let him float that up to even when you repeated that on camera, which tells me you ain't never loved this business. When you respond to Dave Lagreca at Busted Open Radio, and if I'm saying your name wrong, Dave, your last name wrong, forgive me. I'll fix it later. And he says to Dave Lagreca, the business is a complete work. You're saying the obvious. That was your ego that showed up. But then when you followed up, and I'm repeating what he wrote because I want you guys to comprehend and process what this cocksucker is saying. He then says, please join me, Cody Cena, and Brian, and the rest of us for our creative discussion so we can expand your perspective. He's sitting next to Bubba Ray, who has a firm grip on the business of professional wrestling. He is sitting next to Mark Henry, who has a firm grip on the business of professional wrestling. Both former world champions in their perspectives. Both former tag team champions in their respectives. And you telling me Dave Lagreca doesn't have a firm understanding? His rant more warranted than myself and anyone else in this IWC, as they call it, and this YouTube wrestling space, in this online wrestling space, understands that more than that because he has two people who has done it at the highest levels explain to him how it works. He's in class every time he turns that microphone on. And then you do some cocksucker shit. P.S. Tell Dave I have Grand Marnier and hush puppies for all of us. So after you talk about having a little bit of alcohol, you gonna go up there and have a Dave Lagreca pack so you could smoke off and eat hush puppies and try to big dick him and make him feel like he's little and less than because you happen to be the star of the fucking show? You know, guys like you, The Rock, guys like Triple H, guys who can't handle the criticism in the business of professional wrestling is the reason why you might be riding high because everybody's on the Vince McMahon's Gone train. You might be riding high because you guys are now in charge. But in reality, there's a war going on. And someone wrote in the comments in the video from yesterday, they said very clearly, John Cena said there's a war going on and we got to learn how to choose sides. The problem is the fans are not supposed to be choosing sides, but everybody in that company is being forced to choose sides. And we're going to learn when you guys finally have the corporate explosion in that company and you finally get what you want and you push Triple H out, whether Stephanie is still a part of it. When you finally get what you fucking want with your Grand Marnier talk, when you finally get what you want, it will be 10 to 12 long, hard years of offsetting because that means you will begin to bury Triple H's people. That means you will begin to bury the talent you don't like. And I think also you're actually attacking Vince McMahon on the low because you want to be Vince McMahon. Even though it's not mentioned, people like you don't like knowing someone is greater than them. You don't. And I think you're coming for everyone else's shares on the low. I'm not doubting that. I know how this business works. There's a lot of people who go on these YouTube streets. There's a lot of people who go on those X/Twitter streets and these TikTok streets, and they talk shit and they really want to be in the WWE. They talk shit and they really want to be in the AEW. They want to be in professional wrestling. You will never hire a person who can tell you the fucking truth because you can't handle it. That's why you and H are always at tug of war with each other. You two can't handle the criticizing from each other, and you two can't handle the fans. Think about it. The most bitch-ass people in the WWE are running the WWE. And they both forgotten what a fan was. With your bullshit goosebumps. I'll leave you with this, Dwayne. I don't wish you no bad, but I also don't wish you no good either. But I hope that you have the heart to put in front of yourself, and Triple H has the heart to put in front of himself, someone who walks into the office and tell him like it fucking is. I hope someone has the heart to walk up to you and say, yo, Rock, you fucked up. Let's pivot, which you guys don't like saying no more. Let's pivot and fix shit. You guys fucked up so well that you guys have avoided the word pivot because it literally hurts you to your fucking stomach to realize you have to make a change. And if The Rock is willing to fuck the lifetime investors of professional wrestling that we all are, he will fuck us even harder when it's needed. The Rock, I want to explain something to you. And like I said, I'll leave you with this. Some people spend their whole life dream to go to WrestleMania. Some people spend their whole life to dream to just go to a Monday Night Raw. Some people are saving for a whole year to buy one ticket to have the experience, the electricity, the emotion, and everything that they had on their couch. This is why wrestling fans cry. This is why wrestling fans cheer. This is why wrestling fans boo. This is why wrestling fans critique. This is why wrestling fans watch it in the first place. Because this might be the only time in their lives, whether it's a 2-hour Raw, a SmackDown, a pay-per-view, whether it's AEW, TNA, that they can just disappear from the world and be a part of something that brings them fucking joy. This is why wrestling fans are like an iRobot. The robots all went together in the same corner. Go read the book, Rock. Don't watch the movie with Will Smith. I just read the book. Go read the book. And all the robots cluttered together in the same corner where they were put in empty crates. Because all wrestling fans find each other and it's a universal understanding. And that's something you will never have and never understand because you've been spoiled in the world from the world of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling has given you everything and you have completely shit on it. That's why you can't go be successful in Hollywood, because you don't understand what it takes for the people who spend their whole life to stand behind a camera to make you fucking Black Adam, and then you shit on the people who worked as hard as they can to get to a piece of the mountaintop. I'm not going to run you guys' ears off no more. But if you listen to every word I just fucking said, you know that I'm right because you're a fucking fan and you're a supporter and you're a lover. And sometimes whatever's going wrong in your life, Monday Night Raw takes that away and you get to just be in a different world. But these are the people who are in control of the ship that we love. I guess Cody fucked up when he said I'm the captain now. Maybe he was truly right in that statement, even though it's a work, Rock. But you think we don't know. You just called Dave Lagreca and every wrestling fan, whether inside the IWC or outside the IWC, every person who's ever bought a ticket, you just called them a fucking idiot. Yo, eat a dick, my man. Eat a dick.